Hey guys, welcome back to Jab Reads with episode 6. I'm here to talk about Jonathan Mayberry's Rotten Ruin today. It is the most recent young adult horror novel that I have found, and I have just fell in love with it immediately. It was just that good. So, here we go. Real quick, before I get into the actual parts of the book that I wanted to discuss with you guys today, I do want to talk about what is also standing up in the background here. If you haven't noticed, my bookshelf and background has changed just a little bit, but the biggest thing that has changed is some of the books right here. So you see Rotten Ruin on display as well as the rest of the series, but you do see a really glorious Blu-ray cover edition of the Babadook. And I wanted to do a quick little recommendation for you guys. It's a movie, and especially with Halloween around the corner, I did want to recommend that for any horror lovers out there. The Babadook is one of those that it's a very unsettling tale about a mother and a child who are adapting to this life without the father who died in a car crash the year before. And while the mother is slowly finding herself drained each and every day as she's working as a nurse while dealing with this troubled kid who is making his homemade weapons and breaking stuff around the house and acting up in school, she finds that one of the children's books that she reads to him at night actually is starting to come to life and manifest in the real world. And so it's super, super cool. And I actually want to point out the cover real quick, because when you open it, it's super, super cool. It plays on the actual storybook from the movie. It's on Netflix, if I remember right. Here's the actual other cover, something that you guys might remember. But I definitely recommend that for any horror lovers out there. So real quick, when it comes to the world of young adult, I do always love finding new authors, both in general, but especially for young adult, because it's a new voice that can be heard, and I feel like young adult is the best place to start off with, or to advance your career in, just because, you know, you're in that midway point of young kids becoming teens and then teens going into adults. So it's definitely a fun way to introduce these new elements and these new themes in such a younger platform. And with it being one of the most high-selling genres out there, it was super cool to see that Jonathan Mayberry took a step back from his Joe Ledger novels and he decided to write something for the younger people that, you know, may not be into his Joe Ledger detective novels, because that deals with more spy and adventure. And so with these, he kind of dived more into the elements of horror, but mixed in with the sadness and the sorrow of what this dystopian future would be. We have a lot of dystopian futuristic books out there right now. You know, Hunger Games, we've got the Rotten Ruin series, we've got just all these many ones. We have Divergent, especially with the most success right now. But there's so many out there, and so it's always kind of hard to find yourself writing a dystopian future novel, but at the same time doing it differently from someone else. But I feel like Jonathan Mayberry did it very well. He did it very realistically. A lot of people don't agree with how he wrote it, but I personally enjoy how he wrote it, and I am actually really excited to continue on with the rest of the series. But enough about my love for the book. Let's actually talk about the book itself. We follow Benny Imura, who is a teenager trying to find his way in Mountainside, which is a gated, civilized, if that's even a word, it is now, a community that has decided to go on with their lives even though they're amidst this giant zombie population, or, you know, virus. And so they live in Mountainside, which is obviously on a mountainside, and the outside of the gates is called the Rotten Ruin, where the rest of the dead roam. And so we follow Benny Imura. We slowly piece together First Night, which is the night that the outbreak happened, which depleted the world down to 6 billion dead that then came back to life. And so all that's left are these tiny civilizations across the entire state and country, and Mountainside just happens to be one of them. So we follow Benny Imura, who is a teenager who realizes hey, I'm kind of being forced to find a job, but I really don't know what kind of job I want. And now I feel like that's very relatable, because as a younger teenager, I was like, what do I want to do? I don't really want to do anything. You kind of get frustrated and you find yourself not working until you're 16. So he has to find this job, and he's not really sure what job would be best for him. So after trying all these different jobs, because his brother's like, hey, you know, you can always be my apprentice, because his brother is actually the most famous of Mountainside, or I want to say actually in general, the most famous zombie slayer. And so he's like, I don't want to do anything that you do. I don't want to kill people kind of thing. He's like, I don't want to deal with the zombs, which is what they call the zombies in this world. He's like, I just kind of want to do my own thing. So he decides to be different from that, and he tries all these different avenues with his best friend, Chong, and they both find that they're either one's really good at it, but the other's not, or that they're both just really awful at the entire thing. So they kind of keep going their way through all these different jobs that happen in Mountainside until finally Chong finds that he is actually really suitable for the Watchtower, which is where obviously it's just a giant tower that overlooks the entire surrounding area of Rotten Ruin, just to make sure that there's no zombies getting ready to break into the Mountainside place. and to make sure that everyone is safe. So he finds that he's actually really good at it, and he doesn't want to quit it, obviously because Benny's not good at it or he doesn't want to do it. So Chong is like trying to do his own thing while maintaining a friendship. So Benny's kind of a little hurt by that at first, if I remember right. But then he decides, in a state of defeat, that there's nothing else that he can do well. So he decides to finally take up his brother Tom on the offer of being an apprentice for zombie slayage. Also in this world there is a card game, which is more of a collectible thing, which has beautiful art by one of the mountainside villagers there, and it talks about all these different people that either are in the Rotten Ruin or they're in these different communities all over the country, and one of them of course being Benny's brother Tom, hence his popularity. But on top of all that, there is this one mysterious rare card that's floating around Mountainside, which shows the picture of the Lost Girl, who is this beautiful blonde woman, and she just seems to kind of be badass. And so Benny is immensely drawn to her, especially once he finally gets the card. He doesn't actually want to ever let it go. So while he's trying to collect this, and he's not really taking the apprenticeship very seriously at first, he finds that his brother is quickly frustrated and he better get on his game. But it actually doesn't come down to that until there's other slayers in the village. There's Charlie Pink Eye, and then there's the Motor City Hammer. And so on top of them actually being, pretty awesome as well, and they're actually Benny's idols, even though you think that Tom, his brother, is his idol. They're his idols. They find themselves also attracted to this card, and they will do anything and everything to get it. And so in a state of aggression, Benny finds himself no longer, putting these people up on a pedestal. He finds himself like, wow, you guys are a lot different than I thought you were. Benny also this entire time blames his brother Tom for what happened on first night, and it relates back to the loss of his parents. He remembers it a certain way, that which later in the book we actually find out what exactly happened, or if he's actually remembering it the correct way at all. And so the entire time he blames his brother for the loss of his parents, hence why he doesn't idolize his brother the way that he idolizes Charlie Pink Eye and the Motor City Hammer. Along this entire trip, we also come into Benny's friends Morgie and Nix, and they all have their own little group of, friendship that they maintain while this entire mystery starts to unfold. So while becoming an apprentice with his brother Tom and learning the tricks of the trade with, a katana, if I remember right, that's Tom's weapon, he finds that it's not so much as being a weapon of defense. It's more so, finding closure. It's more so, finding ways to deal with it. But if you have to deal with it in the way of slaying, then yes, you will. But Tom actually developed his own method, and he calls it silencing. And it's where he apprehends the zombies, and he then takes this knife and he sticks it slowly into the back of their neck, which immediately causes them to no longer function. This way you're not mutilating the corpse, and you're not mutilating the life that was once inhabiting this body. Because Tom believes that you should respect these zombies despite their, want for blood and flesh. You should respect them like you would any other grave, any other person. And so throughout the way you find, or Benny finds that he actually does idolize his brother in a newfound way that he never thought he would or could. So while he's trying to learn the tricks of the trade that Tom is showing him, he finds himself in this world of zombie attacks, and he finds himself in this world of betrayal, and in this world of sadness, as well as in this world of, budding romance between him and his friend Nix. And Nix is a kick-ass younger girl who is just, she came from a bad background, but she is ready to, stand on her own. The fun thing about this was, like I said earlier, it dealt with the sadness as well as the horror of this world. Because, I feel like there's a lot of dystopian thrillers out there that decide to take more on the action aspect rather than like, hey, we're in a zombie apocalypse. It's kind of like a depression, so we're depressed. Food is scarce, water is scarce, electricity, is scarce or it doesn't exist at all. Communication is little and it only contains within these gated communities. So it's this giant misfunction between what you once knew if you're a certain age compared to what you have to now know. It's this giant scene of molding where they have to kind of adapt to this world. If they once grew up in a world where they could call anyone and everyone on their cell phone, and they could get on their laptop and do all sorts of research, because now you are depleted of certain things and you are scarce on others. So I really enjoyed the fact that Jonathan Mayberry, he was very somber with the way he wrote this, but he was still very into the action and the adventure aspect. And you laugh, you cry, you find yourself just immediately hooked. I remember reading it in class during one of my semesters at college, and I found myself reading it rather than reading what the in-class assignment was for. I really couldn't put the book down, and I definitely recommend it, especially with Halloween just around the corner. Like I said, it does have its scary moments, and there are 5 books in the series, the 5th one being a prequel, and it kind of takes you more into the world. But the other 3 I'm actually super stoked to get into, and I will be doing more vlogs on those as well once I get into it. Part of me kind of wants to do a spoiler talk on this as well, but that probably won't be for a while. That way I can get through a few more titles for you guys. But I do want to know, if you guys have already read the book, what you guys think of it below. Do you guys agree with me in the way that he wrote it, with the whole somber tone, and did you like it? I looked up a lot of comments before making this vlog, actually, and there were some people who didn't like the way he wrote it compared to all these other zombie novels. But if you have read anything else, either by Jonathan Mayberry, you will see that his writing style didn't change, of course, but it fit the world very, very well. But you will also find that the entire world is just so captivating that by the end of it, you are just so stoked to get into book 2. And you just can't wait to finish it. Now, what's really cool is the series is slowly being adapted into comics, as well as apparently the movie is on the way. I have no idea as far as the release date of that. But if you guys want to know more about his series, you guys can go to his website, which will be in the description box below. But like I said, go ahead and let me know what you think about the book. And don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. That way I can make more vlogs for you guys. And until next week with the next video, I will see you guys soon. Remember to read. Bye.